The Strong Sessions are back. The Vancouver Adapted Music Society's flagship event celebrates musicians with disabilities, featuring performances from 4 talented artists and bands from our community. Join us on August 25th at the Roundhouse Community Centre from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. Tickets are by donation. For more information, visit the Vancouver Adapted Music Society on Facebook, at VAMS Society on Instagram, or on our website, www.vams.org. We hope to see you there.
Well, this actually leads me into my next question, so we can dive a bit deeper into it as well. But you describe yourself as a deeply philosophical being. How has your philosophy of life and meaning changed after your accident?
Oh. Huh. I would say it hasn't changed in any dramatic way, other than it's just deepened and gotten richer. My philosophy, which is essentially that there's an incredible intelligence that holds my body together. There's an incredible intelligence that put together my body and the systems that are within my body, and that also are the systems that are part of this planet and part of the universe that I belong to. And that great intelligence is benign. I don't think it has any identity other than being, an incredibly benign life force energy. And we don't even need to call it anything, or it doesn't even have to be an it or that. The fact of the matter is that I draw on that energy every day. We all do. And as such, I honor it and I revere it. And so my philosophy since my injury has really expanded in the sense that I understand perhaps more of that relationship in an intimate way than I did before, because I've had to get very, up close and personal with my relationship to the life force, because I've really had to call on it and to figure out how to navigate and to not to navigate, but how to harness it actually in a different way. So prior to my injury, I could do all sorts of things physically. I was quite a extreme athlete, and once paralyzed as a high level quad with no arm function, I had to figure out how I could, now harness the life force energy in a very different way. And so I believe that we all have the capacity to create the lives that we choose in the way that we are engaged with the life force in whatever type of relationship we choose to call that. But I think that's what's changed the most, is I've really noticed how my understanding of the laws of the universe have become very clear to me. And on a very practical, basic level, let's just, for instance, say, gravity is a very close companion to me as of one law of the universe. But so is the law of choice. So is the law of there's many laws in the universe that we don't really acknowledge, but that exist. And I think in quantum physics and in various different ways, I've delved into that more deeply since my injury.
Yeah. I'm honestly feeling very inspired in how you really embody and harness and honor that life force. I yeah, I really feel inspired to also deepen my relation to it in the everyday, because it does come up. It does come up when I express my gratitude for being given another chance to live and to play and to feel joy and to just to be in this body.
Yeah.
And at the same time, I feel like the times in which I am also more connected with the intelligence, as you put it. I think to me, I normally use creator or God, but for me, I feel the most loved when I'm in water or when I'm on the land, and I feel held. I
Yeah.
feel I feel that no matter how heavy this experience and this time on earth can be, I am held and I am welcomed and I am supported as I am.
Oh, that's just beautiful, Tanya. And as you should feel that, and everyone, I dearly hope everyone can feel that, because it's really true, as I know it to be. And, in my near-death experience, I was held there too, and I had no fear. And I didn't, I mean, I could have been dead, who knows what, but there was no fear. And it was just so beautiful to be given that insight that there's this great, I love the word creator too, actually, sweetie. And I love the word God, although it's been kind of misused by religion, but religion is just man-made. So just to say, I agree wholeheartedly. I really love feeling like we're kind of like this, like in a cloud. We're floating in this beautiful place of support all around us. Like there's, my girlfriend once said to me at the end of a yoga class, she said, doing yoga makes me feel, she's paralyzed from the neck down too. She said, it makes me feel like I'm a camera in a camera bag, and I've got all this foam around me and all this support, and like everything's holding me up. And I said, great, that's exactly the way we should always feel. Kind of like that, right?
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I love that metaphor too of just um, being held in a way that's comfortable and soft, and
Yeah,
we can be
yeah,
gentle.
yeah.
Your memoir, Where Science Meets Spirit, explores the intersection of resilience, energy, and embodiment. Can you share a bit more about the significance behind the title?
Yeah, I think that the title has a sort of a very um, more sort of essay scientific feel to it, because I wanted to ensure that that I was offering those in the audience, those readers who are looking for some of the science, the opportunity to know that there are research articles in there. There's lots of citations, over 40 of really good research. And I also, I really, part of my mission in writing it was to help people to understand perhaps the relationship of science and spirituality, and how it's very interrelated. I don't see them as mutually exclusive or in competition of one another, but I think science has for many years sort of discounted the notion of spirituality or spirit. And that really goes back to, the old sort of Descartes Newtonian model of the scientific method, where everything had to be material, or nothing existed unless it was physical or able to be empirically proven. And that really discounted then anything. It could even, if you will, discount breath, because of course you cannot prove that breath exists just through the result of it. well, of course, we can measure breath now through various different instruments, but back then you couldn't. So I think the most important kind of aspect of the title then is really this, this kind of love-hate relationship academically that's existed for hundreds of years between those two attributes or aspects, and then also the importance that science and spirit are. They're an and, they're not an either or. And then the autobiography of a paralyzed yogi, some people would consider perhaps in the writing world autobiography, meaning someone else writes about yourself, or it could be you writing about your own life. And in this case it is, because I did include that near-death experience in my childhood, and it's not just a memoir, then it really covers a lot of ground. And I also explain kind of what I talked about earlier, how my philosophical and my relationship to spirit and life force was kind of established back then in that near-death experience. So the other reason why I called it that is Paramahansa Yogananda, who was the original autobiography of a yogi title. It's quite a famous book, and it was broadly distributed. It was a bestseller in the States for many years in the 60s and 70s. And it was kind of the first yoga book really to hit North America. So it was a classic in many ways. But the other really important thing for me was he was one of my teachers. I actually was one of my, other than my mom and Swami Radha, and that kind of influence. He was one of my own first sort of reaches out into understanding the the more philosophical aspects of yoga, because of course he, as a true yogi, knows that asana, or the physical postures, are just one of 8 limbs, and there's these 7 other limbs that are also equally as important in the understanding and practice of yoga.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for that. And thank you too for really talking too about how science and spirit are an and if anything, perhaps science tries to make sense of the spirit, or maybe not. But yeah, I hear the different influences too, and how that is weaved or woven into your autobiography. And I'm wondering if there were any insights or revelations you've had while writing your book.
Oh gosh, yeah, lots. Insights, revelations. Even writing the book, stuff would come to me that I feel like was very much not by me, but through me, if you will. And I couldn't really maybe be specific about that, because there's lots of little snippets in the book that I would just wander around with my my iPhone, and or often in the middle of the night I would get these little insights, and I would just record them. I didn't even know where they were coming from. And so I would just randomly talk into my phone and record them. And so lots of those. And actually during the book, Tanya, or throughout the book, there are what's called weblogs. And when I was first injured, I didn't have the same type of near-death experience per se, because I was much more perhaps physically conscious of the process when I was physically paralyzed at 47. But I did have this very distinct experience of not being physical when I woke up, and right initially. And that experience was really profound, in that I felt again like this kind of that very similar feeling that we've talked about, where you feel totally supported, but you're also quite floaty and boundary. You just don't have this physical limitation of feeling scrunched into a body. And that I write about a lot at the beginning in weblogs, and I didn't write at the beginning because I couldn't. And all I could do, again, in the early stages for the first 2 years was I dictated these to my daughter, who then would write them out. And then those weblogs I put in the book, but I didn't even edit them. I just left them quite raw and quite sort of, they sound almost, they don't make a lot of literal kind of, they wouldn't get high marks in English grammar, or maybe, sentence structure, but they're really the lived experience of what it was like. And they're very energetic. So there's lots of that in the book.
Yeah, I love that. I love that inclusion of sort of essentially like a diary entry. And it being very unfiltered, and just how it is and the way it came up. And I really like the phrase you use, but not by me, but through me.
Yeah.
Because I too, whenever I, for example, meditate, when I sit with myself, when I sit with different plant medicines, I think that there's this this miracle that happens when I open myself and I let whatever needs to come to me just come as is. And so yeah, there's a lot of power in that. And I'm wondering, for folks who are tuning in, how they can read your autobiography or be engaged with it.
Yeah. Well, I have a website. It's www.maryjo.com, which is my name. So the Mary-Jo still exists. So it's mary-jo.com. And there's all the ways to kind of order, purchase, or, read snippets of the book there. You can get the Kindle version or the paperback version through the regular book suppliers like Apple, Amazon, and Google, I think. Yeah, and it also, it can be carried in bookstores, although I think it's slow to get out into the bookstores right now. We haven't seen it on many of the shelves just yet. It just got released a week and a half ago, so it's coming,
Wow.
And I think I would suggest for anyone that's interested, I do write a blog, and I'll also be doing a blog about the book, and about these concepts, because I've already had people ask me, but what do I do if I want to work with energy this way, or how would I look at this? And so I thought, well, I should really support all the readers of my book by writing a blog that's really specific to what I talk about in the book. So I'm going to be doing that as well. And so if they go and sign up for my newsletter, they'll get those bi-weekly, and those will be, a nice sort of 300-word essay on a piece of the book that I unpack a bit deeper, and maybe add, a practice and a practical application for people, so they can really put these ideas to work and find how they can be useful.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like a reading guide. It's a way to apply like the teachings and the wisdom that the book carries, and which is an extension of you, into their own everyday living.
Yes.
Oh, that sounds wonderful. And well, as we come to like the end of our talk today, I also wanted to name that you are currently a chair for the Disability Foundation, and you've also been more involved in Vancouver Adapted Music Society. So I'm just wondering, how did you first come to work with the Disability Foundation, and what has your experience been like so far?
Oh, it's a great organization. I just love the Disability Foundation, and I've honestly been involved with them as a client for the whole time that I've been disabled. And the first introduction, I suppose, way back then was through ASABC, which was back then the Disabled Sailing Association.
Mm-hmm.
And I love sailing, and I absolutely adore getting out on the water every week. And I just think that whole offering is just, top notch, using the sailing term. And so then, over the years, I got into gardening, and then Digga provided me with some great raised beds. And I have still to these days, it's just a beautiful garden. And then when Steve was still alive, and he was this amazing manager of Connectra, and I was quite involved in teaching yoga out in the community in those days. I used to do the Abilities Expo every year with Trinity Yoga, my company, and we would do yoga classes and stuff for the Disability Foundation. So over the years, I've been involved in very many ways, volunteering and also as a recipient of all the great services. And then I was asked in 2019, was it? Or maybe 21, to join on the board by Maureen de Landerville, the chair at that time. And I was thrilled to be on the board, and I served on the board for a couple terms. And then I was I was nominated to be the chair last year, a year and a half ago. And it's been a great experience. I had no idea what it involved, and it's been a steep learning curve for me, and a great one. And I just, I'm thrilled to be able to do it. It's this year a lot of work because we've got lots of big initiatives, as you know, and we also are doing a couple big changes. So I won't mention those here, but in any case, it's been very enriching and rewarding. And I just recently, although I kind of started this a while back, but I've just recently been involved as a client with VAMS. And that's exciting. And I've got a really great project that I'm working on there. So a music project, because I used to, when I was younger, play the guitar and sing a lot. And I really lost that. And I kind of got back into it when I was very first injured. But it just wasn't the right timing for whatever reasons. And my hands couldn't do the guitar to any degree then. And since then, equipment and stuff have evolved. So now I can. And I am.
Wow. Oh,
yeah.
I just love how there's just, I'm just going to use the word spirit again, but there really is just so much spirit in you.
Okay.
Well, thank you so much, Mary Jo, for your time, your presence, and for bringing your spirit into this conversation today. Bye for now.
Okay, bye.
This podcast is brought to you by the Vancouver Adapted Music Society. Since 1988, VAMS has been supporting and promoting musicians with disabilities in Metro Vancouver through various programs, including music lessons, recording projects, and live performance opportunities. To learn more about us, visit our website at www.vams.org, at VAMS Society on Instagram, the Vancouver Adapted Music Society on Facebook, or email us at info@vams.org. Thanks for listening.